right, final point after I want to make on this one. So we're going to talk about the losing team on this real quick, and the specific the anti-hero figure of this game, right? So I wrote an article before the game that I was pretty passionate about. I was pretty hyped up about it, and it was Carson Beck and the cost of legacy. And I wrote about how he has become college football's greatest villain of the decade, and I don't think there's an argument against that. I think he was the best villain we've seen this decade, and he'll go down as an all-time villain in the sport. The discourse around Beck, all right, here's the point after for this one. The Carson Beck career discourse makes no sense to me, and I think it's wildly undervalued. This guy is 37-6 in his career as a starter. Again, 6 seasons of college football, he lost 6 games. That's crazy. That's elite level winning right there. 37-6, he almost had a chance to win that last night. He got a chance at the legacy drive, which I can't even believe he got the opportunity for. A lot of people thought Cignetti should have ran the ball on 4th and 5 to close it out, pick up one more first down, end the game, run the clock out. Again, like I said, I thought it was the right call to go up by 6 and get the field goal, but had that false start not happened by Carter Smith, the 2nd and 1, they definitely would have picked up the yard and ended it right there. So as a fan who likes the movie cinematic endings and the storylines, I was super excited that Beck got a chance at the legacy drive to win it. I thought it was epic. I thought it was a great storyline, and I honestly thought it was a fitting ending for his career too. And I don't mean that negatively. I'm genuinely a Carson Beck fan. I've become kind of a huge fan of him over the past month, because when you win and prove doubters wrong and prove haters wrong, I become a fan, and I'm impressed by it. And I think winning silences all. And this is a guy who just all he did was win and put up good numbers in the process. I don't really understand the negative discourse around him and his career. And I'm talking on the field. We're keeping this on the field. You can say whatever you want about him off the field. I've heard stories about his character and whatever. We're not going to get into that. I'm not going to pretend like I know the guy at all, but hey, I like watching him play football. I think he's a darn good quarterback, and I think he truly should be mentioned in some of the names of like some all-time college quarterback stuff. I mean, again, I'm not throwing him in the high up top 10, top 15 rankings of quarterbacks, but the track record this guy has at 2 schools, the full body of work is very impressive to me that only certain quarterbacks have. Certain like legends of the game have. Here's a stat for you right here. So versus AP ranked teams, he has the 3rd best winning percentage all time behind only Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts. That's 2 superstar quarterbacks in the NFL. So like, what are we talking about here, right? I mean, again, this is not a campaign to get back into the first round. I don't think he should be a first round pick. I would not draft him in the first round. This is more just a campaign to acknowledge the college career that this guy had, because he's an all-time college quarterback and he's an all-time villain for the sport, whether people like to admit it or not. And I'm going to miss watching him, truly. I love what he did at Miami this season. I loved how he proved all the doubters wrong after he left Georgia and went there and brought him back. And he was 44 yards away from winning that game. 44 yards away from the final touchdown, legacy drive, and then just like becoming like, a legend forever. So, I don't understand the negativity around him and why people don't give him more credit for what he's accomplished in 3 seasons at Georgia and Miami. So, you can use the argument that he was on extremely good teams. That's fair. I think that with great players, that's fair. But you can use that argument for any QB, like Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson on his team. Like, what do you want him to do? Like, Mac Jones had Jerry Jeudy, Najee Harris, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, like all these guys. Like, what do you want him to do? Not throw to those guys? Every Ohio State quarterback loses like 2 games total in their whole career because of the team they have around them. Like, I think people pick and choose when to use that argument. So I just think you deserve more credit sometimes as the quote unquote game manager quarterback. Like, I think you can still win with guys like that. Like, you've seen Super Bowls won with game winners in the past, or game managers in the past. So I just think there's a lot of QBs that would have messed it up along the way in this playoff run. And I know he didn't put up the most gaudy numbers in the 4 playoff games. I think he had like only 100 yards against A&M, 130 against OSU, 270 against Ole Miss with the running touchdown. And then last night, I believe he's only like 19 of 32 with like 230 yards or something. Touchdown and a game-sealing pick, which I honestly thought was a very like fitting moment to end his run as a villain. And I thought it was kind of the perfect way for it to end. And on top of that, I saw a tweet that he did not shake the hand of Fernando Mendoza, the hero, the protagonist of the story. So I thought that was fitting too. And, it honestly fits Beck's character. So I'm all for the cinematic storylines like that. And yeah, so that's all I want to say on Beck is I think the career discourse he has is kind of odd for a guy who's thrown over 11,000 passing yards and 90 touchdowns. So just while putting up, efficient passer ratings, a top 2 QBR next to Baker Mayfield against ranked teams. So that's some elite company to be in too. And, game managers is thrown around. The term game managers is tossed around in a negative light in the NFL, but like you can win with that. And I still think game managers deserve more credit than they get sometimes for not messing it up. And people call Brock Purdy a game manager. They're still the ones executing the throws on time. Throwing on time accurately is so much more important than people realize. Like a simple 3-yard check down to stay ahead of the chains can mean so much for the offense than people realize. So like, I don't think people should like pretend like Beck is like a bad QB, because I think that's not the case at all. I think we have 5 seasons of data on him that show otherwise, that show that he's been one of the best college quarterbacks of the last 5 years. So yeah. And again, this is not, I'm not even projecting Beck like as a high draft pick. And that's not the point of this argument. I think it's more just like to acknowledge what he did in college and just be impressed by it, because I think, everyone wanted to see him fail, and he really proved a lot of people wrong. So I think he should be proud of himself, Carson. I don't know the guy, but I became a fan of him throughout this playoff run, and I will root for him wherever he goes in the NFL, because I still think this is a guy you're naturally excited about adding to your team in the 3rd or 4th round. Wherever he ends up in the draft, whatever team he goes to, you're naturally excited, even if you say you aren't, because you know what he's accomplished. You've seen it. You've seen it over multiple seasons of college football versus drafting like quote unquote projects or guys who haven't really put up the numbers or wins in college that a guy like Beck has. You've seen what he's capable of, and you've seen how many games he's won. And even if you hate him, you're naturally intrigued by the idea of drafting him, and you can't tell me you're not. I just think he's one of those players where I was texting a buddy this morning about it, and I used Dak Prescott as the example here, because now I'm not comping Dak to Carson Beck stylistically and like physicality wise. Like, I'm not saying they're far different QBs build wise, but I just mean in terms of college experience, college starts, college success. Nobody thought Dak Prescott was going to be good in the pros, because he was like a 5th year at Mississippi State who had played there for forever and just put up numbers, and nobody really thought he was going to be good. And look at him now. He went 4th round of the Cowboys, and he's been their franchise QB for over a decade now. And he's like a top 12 quarterback in the league. So I'm not saying Carson Beck is going to become Dak Prescott. I'm just saying those are the types of QBs where you add them to your team as a backup. The starter goes down in an injury. Beck goes into play, and you feel comfortable with him because you've seen what he's done in college in high-pressure situations with the crowd wearing on him, high-pressure moments against elite defenses like Ohio State, A&M, Indiana, Ole Miss. Like, you've seen it, what he's done, and you're not as scared to throw a guy like Beck in there versus a guy who hasn't, maybe led a team to that many playoff games or something. So I'm intrigued to see where Carson ends up in the draft, because I just think he's one of those quarterbacks where, like, starter goes down. Like, it won't surprise me at all if in a few seasons, wherever Beck is a backup, starter goes down with an injury, Beck comes into play, and the team goes like 8-0 in their next 8 games with Beck. And then it's like, this is just their guy. Like, that won't surprise me at all, because I do think he is extremely well coached. I think he's high IQ. I think he's accurate. And I kind of think he's a killer on the field. And I think he's got some of that, like, aura that you need at the next level. So that's all I'm saying on Carson Beck. I did not think I was going to become Carson Beck fan number 1 throughout this playoff run, but just some of the disrespect he's gotten and discourse-wise, I just had to stand up for him. So I had to stand up for the villain here.